So, hi, my name is Neil Robertson. I am here with Sarah Olney. This is Getting to Know Forex. And Sarah, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi Neil. Nice to have you, and thanks for having me. I live in the end of an old castle in France, and I moved here now about 4 years ago. And it's just me and my dog, and my daughter's back in the UK.
Absolutely
That's it.
fantastic. Now, I hope you don't mind. I've been doing a bit of stalking on Facebook, um, and the first thing I come across, which I absolutely loved, was what's your dream come true, and how can you make it happen? Where did you get
Yeah.
that from?
I think I just made that up myself. That quote. I don't think that
Fantastic.
quote comes from anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So you went to
Thank you.
Oxford University?
No, we were part of the Fools on the Hill. It was then Oxford Poly. It's now called Oxford Brookes University. But
Okie dokie.
our friends down at the proper university affectionately used to call us the Fools on the Hill. We were up at Headington Hill.
So,
Yeah.
you live in France. I used to drive coaches all over Europe. So
Ah,
I've been to Lyon, Montpellier, Dijon. So it's kind of all round the area that you're in. You're in a fantastic part of France, aren't you?
yes, yes. Thank you. Yes, I love it. I hadn't realised just how I wanted somewhere a bit more that was the French experience, but not so hot and expensive as the South. I do like the Four Seasons, and I wanted a place with a train station. I didn't realise just how strategically important historically the crossroads is, where the junction of the A20, A89, where I am. But I can be in Paris in 3.5 hours, and then of course across to Eurostar. So it did turn out to be a great choice. I really do love it here.
Sorry, I'm just squizzing through my notes here right now. This is there's like 4 pages worth of notes here just on things I wanted to speak to you about, and just bits and pieces that I caught in your profile and all that kind of stuff. I thought, oh, I've got to write that. I've got to speak about that. So one of the things that kind of pointed me towards wanting to speak to you was your motivation in in trading. Um, you're always in the chat groups. You're always suggesting people to watch, and you always seem to be there with ideas. And I kind of wonder where you get the motivation from, because it's basically 24 hours a day. When do you sleep?
Uh, Everybody asks me that, and I have to say I do sleep in shifts because, like now, I want to get back on with the Americans. So you don't have to do it like that. I'm lucky, if you want to put it that way, that I live alone. It's me and the dog, so I can really focus on this. Um, I'm just very committed to it. I love teaching. I love helping. I love serving people, and I do realize just how bad it is out there in the modern economy, and that the changes we've seen. I mean, if you talk to someone, a millennial, my daughter was born in the year 2000, they've grown up with a smartphone. So there are a lot of young people who, for them, it's second nature, that they know that 40 years career. I worked part of my life for local councils, and I had 13 years service put into a gold pension, but that gold pension doesn't pay out after 13 years there, anything near like what you could live off, for
Yeah,
example. And these smart young people that we have access to, and some of them are older, they are entrepreneurs, and they do the grind, and they recognize the opportunity that working online gives everybody, that freedom. And in fact, COVID has brought about a blessing born out of desperation for a lot of people, because Zoom shares have gone through the roof, Bitcoin's gone through the roof. People have learnt to diversify their portfolio, and they've learnt to minimize their risk at the mercy, at the hands of the 1% elite, or the New World Order, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. I don't actually care. We can't do anything about any of these people. What we can take control of is our own lives, and that's where people often have that fear of stepping into the unknown. But actually, it's no safer thinking that you can put your future in the hands of other people, particularly people who have mortgages, 2 children to bring up, a car payment, credit cards, all the usual things, and they're not getting any cheaper. So my motivation is born out of money, but it's what does that money do? And that for me, I fall into the waspy woman category. So 3.5 million women in the UK had their pensions after, if you go to an actuary and say, please change my pension arrangements, I haven't been given any notice to do this, you can't do it within 18 months. Actuaries predicate their payouts for you based across, actuaries are people that find accountancy too boring. They base their predictions on longer term payouts. So in fact, I had a shortfall of £48,000 thanks to the UK government deciding that they would change my retirement date to 66 instead of 60.
Yeah.
So while I ended up in France, mortgage free, no debt, car bought and paid for, very, very blessed. I did have to find a business model, and that business model was buying a place that had apartments that I could do up for rental, and taking it from there. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm back to chambermaiding where I was when I was 15 and 16, cleaning toilets, running up and down stairs, answering people's silly questions like, where do I buy stamps from? The post office might be a good start. And thinking to myself, how has this come about? Because I've worked every day for 40 years. In fact, I've worked since I was 13. My parents went bankrupt, and I was the youngest of 6 girls. And even age 7, 8, and 9, we were always the ones at school with the knickers that fell, the socks that fell down, and the old knickers with the elastic going. If you wanted something, you had to go out and earn it and pay for it. And my whole life's really been like that. And I say that not because I want sympathy. I don't need sympathy. I've learnt to be very resilient and learnt to continually reinvent myself. So I didn't know, like any of us, that COVID was going to strike. But what I did know when I came over here was that I wasn't getting any younger, and that could I hold out those 6 years till my other pension, full pension, would kick in and top up the other one, and then I had a bit of income, or what was I going to do? And I thought, well, I want more out of life than this. I've always run businesses, and I thought, well, I like teaching, and I do like helping. I really do like, and I had quite a circle of friends online, and I thought, well, I'll do this trading thing. And like all of us, I knew nothing about it before. I've never tried to teach myself, go on YouTube. I did always have an interest in the city, and in the 80s, when I left college, the early 80s, I did want to be a stockbroker. And in those days, it was all Margaret Thatcher and yuppies, and of course the miners' strike. I did SCADA and telemetry systems in one company that I worked for, so I dealt a lot with the mining community, and I remember those days very well. And then you had the rise of the Champagne Charlies, as we called them. But I did want to be a stockbroker because I thought, money, I want to work with money. But in those days, if you had the twin set and pearls and all the rest of it, as a woman, it was still quite difficult. And I was thinking before this call about generational changes. And I thought, well, in my day, the generational change was that there was, it was the liberation of women. It was the swinging 60s and 70s. There was more opportunity. It wasn't so much, oh, the little woman must stay at home with the babies. Now, of course, no one even talks about that because most couples have to go out to work. Yeah. They're still hung up by the matrix, which is get the bigger house, get yourself indebted. The bank lends you back money that you've put in there at 6% and pays you back only for your mortgage, if you're lucky, 6% or more, and only pays you 1% or less per annum on your savings. And there you are, caught up in the matrix for another 40 years. And I thought, well, this is this generational change, as I say, with the smartphone. These youngsters, they're too smart for that now, and they know those ways that they can take control and earn money and live life on their terms, because there's no jobs out there the same way there were in my youth. It just, unless you've got a vocation like wanting to be a vet or a doctor or a teacher or a care worker, something very vocational, then where does that leave everybody else? The answer is there's not much around, is there? So you really do have to take responsibility for yourself. And when I found this opportunity and saw that the product was money, and it's 6.6 trillion a day, it's bigger than the US stock exchange, I thought, well, I'll have a slice of that, thank you very much. And that's where it began. And I thought the pain of not doing it, the pain of not doing it is greater than the pain of doing it. And that's what started the journey. And thank God I did, because COVID struck. So I started May 2018. COVID struck March 2020. The French government closed my apartments, like it closed many people's businesses in the UK. And at least I had that backup behind me. And then I had another choice, another crossroads, this time a metaphorical mental crossroads. And I thought, right, you have another opportunity now in March. And the French government paid a small grant to, where our businesses were forcibly closed. So I've had that coming in March most of the time till November, and that's been great. But I did less letting. I closed it off Airbnb and Booking.com, and I said, right, my next step forward into the fear of the unknown, because you know what they say, if you want to grow and develop, get in a room where you feel uncomfortable and stay in that room till you feel comfortable. So I've hung around all the multi-million-dollar traders, the successful traders like Les, the people in our group, who, just fantastic, taking to it really well. And I thought, okay, here's my next opportunity. So I could have hung on trying to do both, but there comes points at which you have to make decisions, and then the universe does genuinely fill in the gaps behind you, because you've shown that you want to breathe bigger air and get further forward. So from March I became full-time and put all that on the back burner. So I just have a few choice lettings here and there, which pays for some renovation. And as you know, I've always slept in shifts and done all my trading, but now it means my mental focus, the priority has totally shifted to the trading. So that's my story, really.
Yeah, it's phenomenal what COVID's done. Could you just jump back to May 2018 and just give me an idea of your IML story, which the Imarkets Academy. Just sort of on we haven't mentioned this up to now, but Imarkets Academy is something that I have just taken part in, and you've been a part of it for a couple of years now. And to be honest with you, it's something I'm very, very excited about. And watching people like yourself, I can see no reason not to get excited. But please tell me a little bit about tell me a lot about Imarkets Academy.
Well, you should be excited, and I'm excited for your financial success. I mean, in internet terms, for a business like IM Academy to have been going since 2013, 7 years is like a lifetime. And just the other day, we heard, of another online business that had just started last year, failing to take off. So you get all these stories about which one should I pick, what's robust, and the whole point about working in financial services, or this is a financial educational, it's a multi-million-dollar financial educational online institute, and it doesn't advertise through prospectuses and billboards and TV and magazines, sponsored ads on Facebook. You can only join, as you know, Neil, through being sponsored by someone who's already a member. And it's got itself set up by a multi-million-dollar trader, Christopher Terry, and he's like he's complete beast, obviously, $200 million trader. If you go through the academy, the Forex Academy, I'm number one in the Hall of Fame, by the way, and I like to maintain my rank. So I'm number one in France, and his 400 series and the Forex series, I say to people, make sure you've gone through at least the 100 series, and then you've got the basics, and treat the rest of it like a library. So if you want to delve deeper into a particular subject, you think, oh, I keep hearing someone talk about pitchforks or Fibonacci or price action, then you can delve into the series further down and find some, a 30-minute video, but most of them are only 5 minutes, 9 minutes long. So he's got an excellent series of videos from when he first started on YouTube, thinking he wanted to democratize trading. He wanted to bring it to people like you and me, ordinary people who previously, like me wanting to be a stockbroker in the 80s, would not be allowed a seat at the table. It's an exclusive closed club. So we have that opportunity for that seat at the table. And the question now is, what are you going to do with it? And if you go through his videos, it's phenomenal. His technical analysis is world class, obviously. So he has this dream of building $1 billion company, and he's well on the way to that. And he had network marketing experience as well, not very successfully, but he enjoyed the community. He'd been in Amway, which is one of the oldest network marketing MLM companies. So he brought that intelligence and expertise to trading. Well, of course, the reaction in the trading community was, you are crazy, you'll never do it, this is ridiculous. And that man's vision is phenomenal, which is how come he's attracted around him people like Bob Proctor. We can now access Bob Proctor, again, multi-million-dollar self-development, based all his life on the book, The Science of Getting Rich, 60 years doing it. I think he's in 150 languages around the world, by Ernest Wattles. And, people like Bob Proctor now partnering up. So for $20 a month, we can have Bob Proctor direct to us instead of spending thousands of dollars on his courses. So once he'd got that vision and that dream, it's really grown from there. And where he has been very astute, and why the company is so robust, is because he knows and understands FTC, financial services compliance in the States. And it's very important that you keep the correct ratios, so that it is 55 customers and no more than 45% for any of your business builders and people that might be in your team. And that's the compliance aspect. And where many companies go wrong is that they're heavily weighted towards the network marketing, because of course the compensation plans in a lot of companies seems to be quite generous. So there are three ways you can come at the trading. You can come at it from wanting to be a fairly competent trader. You can come at it from just wanting your 2 and free, and then you don't pay the monthly subscription, which only costs you a few bucks a trading day, which you can easily cover in one trade. And there's another point there about people's mentality, by the way, financial abundance versus scarcity, because people worry about the monthly cost of the membership. They don't, yet they will still take their kids on holiday, buy them hundreds of pounds of scraping together Christmas presents, hide everything from the wife because they're worried what she will think. So they may have, or the husband, they think they may have a negative partner, still think they've got to guilt trip and take the kids to the zoo, still think they've got to spend 20 or 30 bucks or pounds a week on a takeaway. And the irony is that's all dead money. You may as well go out and buy the Gucci belt because you want to show off. Whereas if you invest in this and then get yourself to the position where you can draw out 250 a week, 1,000 a month, but still compounding. It's the power of the compounding, because as Einstein said, he who understands compounding makes it, and he who doesn't pays it. So if people made what I call short-term sacrifices, like we all learnt to drive, that wasn't cheap, was it, per hour? We all learnt to drive because we knew we needed the freedom and if there was emergency or to get to work, to make other things happen, of having the car. So once Christopher Terry had pulled everything together and got the model correct and very compliant with the FTC, what the American young people, the people that I see who are educators and people whose stories I followed, like Lisa Tivaldis, Mr. Gold Cup, he was sleeping on his aunt's sofa. He had nothing. And he taught himself to trade. And the Gold Cup is a shape in the market because it's all patterns and repeatable shapes. It's not random. And now he's a master educator. He's got everything he ever dreamed of, as has his family and have the community that he serves in his team. The stories abound from people who've said the pain of not doing it is greater than the pain of doing it. I am going to do this and I'm going to make it work. And made that dedication and commitment because they know, like learning to drive, or most of us, when I bought this house, it's a very big house. It needs a lot of renovation. One set of friends came round, they walked round the whole thing. They said to me, "Oh my God, you'll be dead before you finish this place." So I said, "Oh, thanks very much." But I deliberately stood here. Yes, I did look at it as a business opportunity. It had to be viable with the right doors and locks and the framework and structure. And I looked at it and I thought, I'll take on the biggest project that I can, because life is a cycle. Nothing stays static, whether it's a tree or a plant or a human being or your mentality. You're either growing or you're dying. So I could have bought a very small place, eked out the savings for the next 6 years, till my other pension came through. I mean, what kind of life is that for anyone on my team, or for anyone out there, or for me, or my daughter, or for the community, or the whatever my passion projects are? So I deliberately stood here and said, and I have done houses before, I'm going to take on the biggest project that I can. It's small comparison to what some other people are doing here in France. That's what I'm going to do, because I felt it, you're duty bound to do that. If you're not growing, you're dying. And that's really what attracted me about IM. I could see what Christopher Terry had brought, and that democratization of making the tools, the software, the system, the training, the education absolutely phenomenal, and then making it chunked up and affordable with a beautiful academy, several academies. I mean, I now do Forex, HFX, which is the binary options, and crypto, and I will add back in Gold Cup. I used to do gold when I first started, and I stopped. So you can get several different types of income generation from this opportunity. So having grown up poor, and knowing what hard work is like, and knowing the worry of mortgage payments, kids, redundancy. I've never been made redundant actually, but I've been sacked from quite a few jobs because I've walked out because I said, I've had enough of you idiots. I could do this myself. I'm generally unemployable. But if you think about your kids and what you want for them in the future, or your wife, what you want to give her, or your husband, who, people under stress and all the rest of it, then why not say, do you know what, love, we're just going to do the £50 presents, not the 100. Do you know what, love, we're going to do home cooking. I'll do my share of it. I'll make a shepherd's pie at the beginning of the week that we can have midweek before I go back into work, rather than have that £20 takeaway. Do you know what, kids? We won't go to the zoo, but let's put Tiger King on TV, and we'll get some popcorn and chocolate, and let's have a family night in. I mean, whatever, because
let's not
it's where
spend £5 a day in coffee.
Well, exactly, because where do our expectations lie? And I can tell you, once I decided to commit to this, I said to myself, I'm not the brightest spark in the book. I've always worked quite hard. I'm not a high level achiever academic. I'm passable. And I'm certainly not maths. Mine's always been writing and communication. And I said, this is going to be a priority. And I've said it to Les before. There have been times when I first started, I never wavered. When I said, you know what, I'll get the tapioca out the cupboard and I'll have a bowl of that with some jam, rather than go out and spend 30, 40 euros on my week shopping, or 50 euros. It's quite expensive over here. And I genuinely have done that. This has been the priority payment. So when I hear people that say they daren't tell the wife what they've spent on it, or they're worried about making this month's payment, I've sold curtains before. I've recycled stuff. Look what Gary Vee does. He still does his thrift stuff at the weekend, and he does his Smurf toys, and he sells stuff on eBay. And that's a multi-millionaire self-development coach and social media guru. It's like, get real, guys. Turn the heating down and put an extra jumper on and save 20 quid a week off your heating bill. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. A lot of children are in poverty in the UK, and I'm not saying they're not. It's desperate, like in a lot of other countries. It's everywhere. But for a lot of middle class families who now are really stuck, actually, because you've got the elite at the top, you've got the bricks and mortars job all being robotized, going online. Estate agents, bricklaying can be done by robots. There just are not the jobs anymore. The office blocks have gone now, the restaurants have gone, and everything, the hairdressers. And it's not going to be a U-shaped recovery. It's not going to be V-shape, it's not going to be U-shape, it's L-shape. And that doesn't come from me. That comes from a top hedge fund manager who Raoul Paul, who now runs Real Vision. He's an ex-Goldman Sachs hedge fund manager, runs this phenomenal we'll look him up on Twitter, phenomenal macroeconomic look at the globe and what's happening. So if you follow someone like that and you stand back and look at the structural changes in the world economy, then there's really no option for people if you want a safe haven for your kids, whether it's this or running a shop. But IML have now just launched their e-commerce offering. I mean, phenomenal. So for a couple of $100 per month, they'll take you all through the education, set the shop up. This has come from multi-million-dollar people who are ahead of you on the path. You're in safe hands. It's fantastic. So whatever your particular choice is, or whether it's understanding how gold works and focusing on that, or Bitcoin or focusing on that. We've got a fantastic indicator that Les has brought us for the Bitcoin at weekends.
Yeah.
So for busy people who say I'm too busy, there's really no excuse. You can just do an hour with us Saturday, an hour with us a Sunday. Well, I know I've seen your results, and make your 3.55% or 8% a session. Some people aim for on HFX, and a bank is only paying you 1% or less on your savings, and that's if you've got 100,000 in there.
Yeah.
So it's the easiest route, and obviously due diligence and compliance. I have to say it's an enticement, and it's up to people. I can only tell you my story, but to sit and think, you can make your 20, 50, 70, 100, 250, 500 a week, which for many people makes the difference between meeting that mortgage payment and keeping the roof over their head. And another thing I feel very passionate and very worried about, and I'm sorry if I'm back to women, but it's just kind of my gender, but I do know there's a lot of middle-aged men in the same boat. Knees are going, divorced, bit knocked around a bit by life, older and tireder, traditional, and it happens to women, career women as well, that the job and what you train for has gone or changed. You have to keep reinventing yourself every decade or so. But I talk to people continually, and you say to me, how do I stay motivated? Because of the people I'm talking to, they'll say, Sarah, I've had people who said they were cheated out of their house by crooked business partners. They've literally, through no fault of their own, were making their mortgage payments, and their partner effed off to Thailand with their money, and they lost their house. I've had people talk to me who are in Airbnb, bad divorces, even lost the kids over it, who are on 0-hour contracts, they're middle-aged and in rented accommodation. I really worry for people, and I think, well, I every day I say how blessed I am, even if I can't afford the heating, that I don't have a mortgage and I own a house. And I've got enough pension coming in, and I've got more pension coming in, and I'm in this sort of gap in the middle, but I have got some letting, I have got my trading. You asked me how I stay motivated. I can assure you it's very easy to stay motivated for me and everybody else out there, and it's something I feel very passionately about. I don't know how a lot of people are going to cope in their old age, where they're going to be living. When I follow on my Facebook watch, I was watching a filmmaker's documentary about how easy is it to get hotel accommodation for homeless in COVID. Very articulate guy, and it took him 5 weeks to get a hotel room. And he said, it's lovely. I don't know how long I'll be able to stay here. But he said, I was proactive in my search. So God knows all the homeless, it's not proactive. California, I watched another Facebook watch, the homeless cities, street cities there now at the bottom of these affluent condo blocks. I really worry for people out there, really do.
It's if you don't mind, can I ask you just a few quick fire questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Just to basically, IML. It's been a massive part of your life for the last few years. Now they've got, if you go with a normal educator, you get one person who educates you for £50, £200 a month, but with IML you get hundreds of educators who some of them teach the same strategies, some of them teach different strategies. All you need to do is follow one or two, and it's pretty much guaranteed that if you follow them long enough, you're going to make the money that you want to make eventually. Who is your favorite educator, first of all?
Well, I'd have to say Chance Gonham, who teaches the pitchforks on the 1 minute time frame. It's a hybrid analysis with looking at longer term indicators, which in this case would be the pitchforks and the scan, the harmonic scanner created by Christopher Terry, which spots the reversal points in the market. I absolutely love the scanner. Again, we're back to the fact that the market isn't random, it's repeatable patterns. And then looking on the 1 minute time frame, which enables you to get more accurate entry and have a much smaller stop loss. This is on the Forex. And I think it's an unbeatable strategy, because you can make you can make 20 pips off your 10 pip stop loss if you enter on the 1 minute, whereas a trader that is on the hourly time frame, trying to say I made 50 pips off that 10 pips on the 1 minute. If I'm a trader on the 1 hourly time frame, I'd have to have about a 50 pip stop loss. So I'm 5 times more profitable than that trader, and I'm in a trade far less amount of time. So it would have to be chance, because I learned everything I need to know. And he used to be he's only 23. He's been with Christopher Terry for 6 years. He was an $8 an hour fry cook in rural Illinois. So he and his young wife, Sam, beautiful young lady, she was a Walmart cashier. They were both at farming college, and he thought, I want a better life than always being a $40,000 a year farming assistant. So he always tells a lovely story as well. And a kind and more generous couple. If you hit them up and ask them to help, just fantastic, lovely people, always got time for you. And he always tells the story. His mum, before COVID, ran a travel agent business, and his dad is a plumber, I think. And one of her best friends, her mentor, was the local town bank manager. So she invited him around to lunch one day, and Chance said to him, "Oh, I'm thinking of doing trading." And he said, "Don't go near it, dear boy. I don't know what those guys do in the back room, but I can assure you it's not for you. Don't go near it." And I thought, oh, doesn't that just typify the older breed of, this isn't for you, young man, who do you think you are? And I think that's the thing that stops a lot of people from trading, because they think, because that's what the Matrix has put in our head. This isn't for you. You're not worthy of having a seat at the table. And Chris Terry said, yes, you are. I'll make this opportunity available to you. What you choose to do with it is up to you. What you choose to do at having that seat at the table is up to you. So for me, it would have to be Chance Stoneham. And then on the HFX side, it would be Matty Pips, Matthew Thayer, with his, he's built an account from, again, young man. I don't know his past as well as I know Chance's, but he's built an account he started with $500. And in 21 months, he got it to 2.1 million. And over the last 6 months, it's now at 7.2 million. And any of us are only ever risking at that level, they're only going to be risking 1%. But we only ever risk 1%, 2%, or 3%. And that's what keeps us safe. And that's another reason I always liked the pitchforks, because you'd have to lose 50 trades in a row at 2% risk in order to blow your account. So that's what keeps you safe. So Chance Stoneham and Matty Pips for me.
How many hours of back testing do you put in a week?
I probably do two or three hours. I'll look back at my pitchforks trades. I've cut the number of days I trade pitchforks. I now just do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and in the mornings. And I've reduced the number of pairs that I do. And then I do back testing, like HFX is a fairly new strategy for me. I started it in September, and we just trade 5 pairs with Matty Pips. So again, what I'm doing at the moment is going back through 10 days worth of the 3 sessions each day in the Forex, in the market, so Forex market, HFX markets, just with binary brokers, but it's the same Tokyo, London, and then New York. I don't trade Sydney. So looking at those 5 pairs individually and drawing vertical lines to see when do those pairs move. So I like to do back testing like that, and I'll put it in the group. So for example, Euro USD moves generally the first hour of London and the first hour of New York. So in the early days, I'd be randomly taking loads of trades, and I might try and look at that at 3 or 4 in the morning. Well, I wouldn't do that anymore unless I'm on with Matty Pips at 5 a.m. my time. You get to understand your market structure and things. So I like to do special things, and I like to look at like that in back testing, and I like to look at some of the educators' videos and then say, oh, that's an interesting lesson. Like quarter theory, to show people how powerful that indicator is, and to say, I can prove to you, if we look at Euro USD, you can see how many times it rejected off quarter theory or broke through, retested, and then came down again. So do some back testing on Euro USD, and then make a little 20-30 minute video to show people the power of the indicator. And the reason for that is, or power of an indicator, is because people, and I remember when I first started, and I was looking at a moving average, and I thought, well, surely that little orange line, because people are very fearful of losing money, obviously, surely that little orange line can't hold price, and oh, is this really going to work? Well, the answer is yes. You have to get your ego out the way, be confident with your confirmations, take on board the instruction from the now they're not allowed to talk money or percentages, but multi-million dollar traders. They've all been heavily tested and had to go through a lot of competitions in order to win their place to become a live educator. So of course that little orange line works, because it's been brought to us by people who've done hundreds of thousands of trades. So 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on what I'm thinking of bringing to the team through the groups as well.
Yeah. The groups that that we have are absolutely phenomenal. The support that are within the groups alone. I mean, take the educators away from it. Take even the academy away from it. The groups that we've got, the support that you get from the people that are in the groups, like people just want to drive you forward. And you know, it's very rare that you go on there and somebody is having a bad day, or you know, everybody seems pumped up and like, yes,
Well,
let's go. It's amazing.
I think the thing is that you can't be a double-minded man, so you've got to decide if you're going to be negative or positive. If you believe that this works, and it does, it's proven, and you're going to put your faith and belief and put your money where your mouth is and say, I'm going to learn this, then it's very, very possible, again, for compliance, you know, theoretically, to have a limitless income out of it and not even touch the capital that accrues in there from the compound effect. So you have to, but if you come in and you start to say, you know, because thoughts are things and they have wings. So if you come in and start to say, I am, you know, and then put a negative sentence, I am not doing too well, or I am, it's okay to say I'm struggling and ask for a one-to-one, but try and do that privately in Messenger, because the more you project that, the more the universe will give you back what your mental imagery is making for you. And that's why people bang on about self-development in the MLM industry, and it's true in the trading industry. You have to stay mentally very strong. So for example, get into a routine. If you're a sports person, Chance always tells the story, you don't go out onto the sports field still buttoning up your gear and then scratching your head and saying to your teammates and the team captain, did we have a game plan? I wasn't listening earlier on. You know, so 2 hours or 6 hours before, I've set up my charts. I know what time I'm going to trade. I know what pairs I'm going to trade. I know how fast they move. I know what session I'm in. I know what I'm looking for in terms of my slider bar, percentage risk to reward, etc., etc. And I've done all that pre-game prep, and the back testing is so important. That will the markets will teach you more than anything anybody ever can. And we always say, you're either going to get a win or you're going to get a lesson. So we don't say we've had a loss. We say, you know, because those multi-million-dollar traders, they're putting anything. The ones I was watching in the early hours of this morning, D.L. Woods, he's fantastic, you know, and he puts his music on, like Shake the Bank and Money, Money, Money. You know, I love the music he puts on, and he says, he says we don't take losses, we take lessons. And he's putting on like 2,000 an order size on the binary. And then you come on with Matty Pips, and he's in Hawaii at the moment, so his internet wasn't very good. So I finished coming off his section. I went on chances instead, and he's putting $20,000 order sizes on at a time. But then we're only in a trade. DL does 2 minutes, Matty does 3-minute trades, and if the payout's 70% and over, and they don't do payouts that are less than that, then you know the take home pay is like 1,600 off that 2,000, and what's that going to be off 20,000, 2,200? It's going to be, yeah, again, isn't it? It's going to be about 16,000 off a 20,000 order size. And the confidence, like Les did it the other day, he's learnt off them and he's brought us this strategy.
Yeah.
Les Gallagher, you know, so just fantastic. And he's like you, he's an ex-forklift truck driver. He was in the Navy before that, went to HC age 16, you know, so quite a self-reliant, exceptional young man, I would say. Wouldn't want to embarrass him by saying it to his face because he's very modest.
Well, we've got
And
him on in a couple of
well,
weeks.
well, good, because he's he's absolutely fabulous, and and he says when you look at what these young men are, and women, because Kimberly Torres is fantastic. Millie Milts, she's under the age of 30. I think she, in fact, there's another one, Jenna. She's the young mum of 20, single mum from Australia of 25 or 26, and they really are absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
So if people are interested, it's not where you are in your journey, because some people, I took 3 times to pass my driving test. You might have only taken once. I wouldn't even dream to attempt or want to drive a coach. Thanks very much. Although I did always fancy being a long distance lorry driver at one stage. I just thought it sounded like fun, sleeping in the cab and driving off to see places. No, well, it's not at the moment on the M20.
No.
So
It's a novelty to start
yeah.
with, but it soon wears off.
Yeah. So phenomenal people, and they've got so Les rolled over. I've never seen him roll over for so long on his trade. It's like a stop. It's like increasing your stop loss in Forex. So he rolled over for 40 minutes on 2 trades, and he said sometimes take a bit of time. So once you've understood the structure of the market and you can see where price is struggling, but you've got your analysis and you've looked at your setup, it's going to drop or it's going to take off. And that's why Les had the confidence to roll over, because he'd done his analysis.
Yeah.
And understood that analysis. So it's like learning to drive. You don't get in a car and just take off. You have to read the highway code, understand where you're going, understand the rules of the road. It's the same principles. It's like learning anything. It's not difficult. Trading, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it isn't difficult. And the reason it isn't easy, because you're putting money on the table, and if you think you can just press buttons and something's going to come home to roost, it won't. The market will just slap you in the market doesn't give a flying whatever. It'll slap you in the face. But if you come on and treat it as a job,
lessons.
you come on and treat it as a job at the same time of day, and get your structure and your discipline and get yourself sorted out, get yourself mentally in the right space, it will give you back everything you want and more. It really will.
Right. I'm going to have to wrap this up, unfortunately. But thank you very, very much
You're
for,
very
for, for
welcome.
joining us. Thank you for you've given us so much information as well throughout this interview. Thank you very much for taking the time out to speak to people at Getting to Know Forex, and well, I'll probably see you later on tonight.
And let's just finish by saying I'll see you at the top, because the bottom's way too crowded, and never look down on anyone unless you're trying to help them up. And it's much better. It's easier to be profitable and better to be profitable than not profitable.
Absolutely. You're absolutely amazing. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Lovely to see you, Neil.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
Take care. See ya.
Bye.